Welcome back to a new video, and it's again a testing video, so there will probably be like 5 or 6 where I'm trying to learn a few things for basically next year when it gets a little bit more sunny and we go out to different places again. So today we are actually I made a video yesterday which I most likely will also put online unless you tell me not to, which was again in Wageningen when I had to go to work, and we biked from a hotel in the woods back to the location where we needed to work. And the reason I'm telling you is because I was on a bike which was provided by the company, and so I didn't have my normal mount where I put the camera. So I actually put the camera around my neck, on my chest area, and I kind of liked how it looked. So today or yesterday I basically ordered a new neck string thingy that you can use for your action cam, and that's what you are seeing now. And the reason I am testing with this is that if you remember when we were playing around with the rotatable camera a few days ago, I found that there's quite a lot of shaking going on when you're over cobblestones and into small streets, etc., etc. The second thing that bothered me is that because the camera is lower, about 50 centimeters, so more, let's say, where your headlight is normally on the bike, and not on where your eye level is, cars look, especially if they are close by, they look quite large, and it's, to me at least, a little bit weird if you see, let's say, an average European car and it looks like an American SUV. Maybe that's just me, but I kind of prefer that the eye level, if you see later on in this video, is more above the cars, or at least at a position where it's above the doors, for example. So we are getting into the weird situation that I might drop the whole idea about using a mount on my bicycle, which I 3D printed, and going to a camera which is basically around my neck. Yeah, that's what I'm doing in this video, and hopefully you see that the viewing point is a little bit higher. The recording is more stable, in my opinion. I have to press a button here because I forgot to start a 3D recording. Or I did, no, not forgot it, but I started it late, and that means that I can only bring it in here. Like I said, in these testing videos I will make more mistakes. But here we go. When we are going over cobblestones, it's way more stable. I think the horizon is not perfect yet, and as a result, which you can now see, and I don't think it's too bothersome, sometimes you can see my hands in the area if I'm adjusting my glasses or waving to somebody, stuff like that. And we can't really, at the moment at least, look to the left and the right, which was one of the reasons I started playing around with the rotatable camera. But, and again, it might be a little bit technical. Like I said, these are more technical or research videos while we are biking through the city. To be able to do the looking left and looking right, you have to use, at least on the DJI cameras, something called horizon mode, where it tries to level your camera automatically, and that is a little bit more shaky, in my opinion. So if we want to combine this more higher view, but also want to make this neck mount, which I'm also going to try to adapt so that we can rotate it again. If I want to combine that, so the more stable video and but also a higher vantage points, and being able to look to the left and to the right, yeah, I'm kind of stuck with this solution, or stuck with this beginning point, because there's no way to get the camera higher unless I put it on a pole, which looks really weird and also works quite weird. So don't want to do that. So this might be the best starting point. So tell me what you think about it. I think it looks quite okay. But again, we kind of lost the ability for this video at least to be able to really look to the left and the right. I'm trying to figure out how can I build this into the solution. So just for so here I do try to bend my body to the left and to the right, as you can see. So it kind of works, but you can't really do that when you're biking. So the good news is that if I get off the bike, which I might do more than in the future, it's still on my chest. So just to give you some idea, if I do the camera upright, which the way it is supposed to do it, it's kind of like a metal ring around your neck. They're about between $25 and $40 from the different brands, and they are kind of made of a metal, bendable metal with inner core, so they're quite heavy. So they kind of fit like a nice ring around your neck, and then it sort of ends up at the top part of your chest. Then if you do the camera, let's say the right side up, for me it's too high, it almost hits my chin. So, but it gives you a little bit of an idea where the camera is. So I decided to do it the other way around. So I aim it down, basically put the camera upside down. So it kind of resides where your neck stops, if that makes sense, where your jacket comes together. And that's where you see it now. So as a result, we are now having you can see that clearly when we go over the next to the cars. We are about at 1.50 meters high. So that's, I don't know, about 5 foot or something. And before the camera was about, you can see some on these bikes, you can imagine where the headlights is, which is about 1 meter high. So it's about 50 centimeters higher. I do think that the horizon is still a little bit too much to the middle, if that makes sense. So I want to point the camera a little bit more up. But of course I need to figure out when you're positioning yourself on the bicycle, how to get it always in the correct position. So yeah, tell me what you think while we are doing this ride. And on this ride I didn't go into the inner city. I think tomorrow I might go to one of the small villages like Breukelen or De Bilt or Bunnik, I'm not sure which one yet, and drive around there to see what happens on the cobblestones, which was what was the problem 2 days ago, which I really didn't like the look of it, and see what happens with this setup. So that might be an interesting video, because this one is a little bit boring, although by the end I will go to a few smaller streets in this neighborhood, which is called, the one side is called New England and the other side is called Lombok. And there's some rebuilding going on, some cobblestones there, so that was already quite a nice test. You also hear that the audio, which is now a new wireless mic, directly into the camera, still has some problems. There's some ticking sound that I probably made a mistake and need to figure out how to get that better. That's positioned on the back of my bicycle, so on the luggage rack, if that makes sense. But I need to figure out a better way. I don't use the microphone inside the camera, because then you will hear me huffing and puffing and yeah, just making noise, which my idea is that you only want to hear background sounds like cars, birds, stuff like that. So this is kind of the new starting point. We are going to the direction of the inner city. If you've seen my previous videos, you've seen this part quite a lot. It's you might hear it a little bit in the audio. And maybe see it later on. I will point it out, people bicycling. It is very windy today. My guess is, I should have looked it up, but my guess is about 40 kilometers an hour headwind in some parts at least. So it's one of the more windy days so far on our rides, which kind of fits with the discussion we had a few days ago about using an electric bike. and it will point out a few people which are really have to bike up a bridge and also have a strong headwind, and they are having quite a tough time of it. So my argument a few days ago is that the nice thing about an electric bike is that you can go faster, and it takes the edge off situations like having a headwind, which in the Netherlands we call the Dutch mountains. Because people say this is a flat country, which is totally true, but lots of people forget about the strong winds that we do have. Here actually I get off the bicycle to see if the microphone is still there. So you can kind of get a feeling how that would look. I'm now stepping off the bicycle at some point. I think about now. And you can see how that sort of works out. I think I already done it. Oh, no, now I'm now stepping off, so this is kind of nice, because one of the things I'm pondering about is really physically sometimes, especially if we're in nice nature areas, that I could actually get off the bike and walk around a little bit as part of the cycling tour. And also today I'm looking a little bit more through the bumps and not avoiding them, just to see how it looks. This is an interesting part. I already compared this part to other videos because we've been here so many times next to the water and the windmill. And here you can clearly see the different vantage points, because we are 50 centimeters higher, which is about 2 feet, I think. About 2 feet. And I think that's good. The only downside, but I don't think that bothers me, and hopefully it doesn't bother you, is that at times you see my hands moving through the picture. The good news is that you can't see my hands on the steering wheel because it's too high up. But if I pick my nose or scratch my head, then you will probably see my hand moving. And we are, of course, you have also, because we are a little bit higher, you can see a little bit more of all the floating homes here, the woonboten as we call them. And we are again next to the old factory called the Munt, where they used to make all our coins for the guilders and the euros. And they are now rebuilding it and will be repurposed. And this is then also called the Muntbrug, so the coin bridge. And I think we are going to the left because we're going to make a loop next to the water. Yes. So one of the advantages of the rotating camera was that we can kind of aim it a tiny bit to the left side. So the road is more in the middle, if that makes sense, even though we are riding on the right side of the bicycle path. I think that looks a little bit better. So tomorrow I will try that. But once we have the camera rotatable on my chest again, so that I can kind of move it from left to right, then we will see what we can do to make it a little bit more even in the picture. I did find that the DJI algorithm, so the camera uses to stabilize and balance the picture, sometimes has a delay. So sometimes I think the horizon is actually crooked, like we are going through a corner, and it needs a few seconds to compensate for that. I'm guessing they do that on purpose and do it, purpose is the wrong word. They do the movement quite slow because otherwise it looks quite jerky. So they slowly rebalance the horizon. But now this is what I mean, is that the road sort of does not look to be in the middle, which kind of makes sense because we're not bicycling in the middle. But I think it's nicer if I go to the middle of the road, you can see it starts to look better in my opinion. Again, it's quite a gloomy day, about 4 or 5 degrees. These buildings you might see, which is not that normal, and then it's quite a lot of parking spaces on the 3D view. I won't bother making it bigger or smaller today. I will do that in real videos again. But there's quite a few parking spaces here because this is part of a convention center on the left and on the right called the Jaarbeurs. And they have a lot of meetings there and what do you call them? Shows like computer shows and holiday shows, and so I have a lot of parking space there. Here we are next to one of the canals again. And I think personally I kind of like the more higher view also if you are approaching a bicycle, especially if you are behind or next to another person on a bicycle. It looks a little bit more natural. It kind of looks like I'm a smallish, I'm not sure what he was doing, he was kind of kicking a plant. Anyway, but you can see that the view is now clearly higher, and I think that gives a more natural feeling. But the bad news, of course, and I hate to admit that all my work on the different mounts that we have done to make it fit on the bicycle are out the door, because I think there's no way that I can get the same vantage point which I found during the trip in Wageningen that I kind of preferred. And it kind of becomes worse because now that we have cycled quite a lot of the main cycle paths in the Netherlands, in the Netherlands, in Utrecht, is that if we next year go into smaller places and also use more rental bikes, so go by train to another city and bike around there, yeah, then of course I need a solution which is not really married to my own bicycle, but I can more, in this case, put around my neck, on my body, and then use on any bicycle I'm using. I normally don't make videos on a Friday, so it's now Friday evening when I'm doing this. So in this case I'm doing something, not sure what. I guess I was adjusting the camera or checking the camera. Still about 5 degrees Celsius, so coldish and not the most summery of the sunny of days. It's quite cloudy, which of course results in somewhat moody video. So since it's more in the evening, I'm sipping my coffee, so if you can hear that, sorry about that. So the video that we made in Wageningen, which I think I will put online because it's a nice trip in the forest, going from the hotel which is in the forest to the workplace. I don't want to put the audio there because that's audio from the internal mic and we were talking quite a lot. Because I'm bicycling with a colleague, I think I will put the audio of a different video below it. It's not a perfect video, but maybe somebody will enjoy it. I should look up how many floating homes, woonboten, there are in Utrecht. I never counted that. So yesterday, we put a few days ago, not sure when, we put a video online where I made a claim about the shopping center that has 2,000 shops, and somebody corrected me that there are way less, and he was totally right. I'm not sure where this number came from in my mind. The weird thing is that there were definitely more shops in the old days, and also very small shops. But even now the official number is that there are about 150 to 160 shops in in the Hoogkaterijnen, the big shopping mall, which was the biggest in Europe in the 1970s when it was built, and partly now demolished and let's say rearranged. But they now claim that there are about 150, 160 shops in there, and I also doubt that because part of the whole complex is the hall for the train station, and as you might know, Utrecht has the biggest train station in the Netherlands. And I counted already 42 bigger and smaller shops there. So, and that's only one small area of Hoogkaterijnen. So I'm kind of wondering how they are counting. My bet is that there are still, if you really count all the eating places and the smaller shops, that you will probably end up with a few hundred shops. So actually, we hear it in the background maybe. Scooter has had a tough time catching up to me. There he is. We have some weird interaction with vehicles today. Again, one of the nice things about the higher vantage point, it's about 50 centimeters higher, is that things look more realistic in speed. But even then, the interactions I had with other things on the road today, which I will point out because most of them will happen further along in the video, are quite safe because I drive quite defensively. You might not look it on the video because of the flow and the way that the video is using a wide lens. Everything looks faster than it actually is. And I always have my hands on the brakes and I anticipate. But we had a few interactions with people today. And if you ride in a more aggressive style, then you might have hit somebody. Of course, you can put in the comments that you think that I'm riding too fast or too aggressive. Like I said, it might look like this, but I don't think I am. But I will point out what happened in these cases, and maybe I should sometimes be even more relaxed. But you can judge yourself and tell me. Of course, because of the low speeds, if something would have happened, it would be like not too much of a big deal. So we're now going to a neighborhood which is called Kanaaleiland. So one thing, of course, I have to get used to is that I have to be careful if I touch my chest area where the camera is, so that it doesn't bother you too much. But we're in an area called Kanaaleiland, and we're now going over, going to the left over a bridge. It's Friday about 2 o'clock when I made this recording. I kind of forgot to talk about it, but if you go back in the beginning of the video, you see when we are passing the school, how many moms and also dads, I guess, are picking up their children using bakfietsen and other interesting bicycles. And when we go back later on, they are already gone, there are only a few left. But it's a typical thing in the Friday afternoon, they will be going home. So you can already see here that's quite windy. Because I was still not totally sure about the position of the camera, I'm clearly sometimes still touching it. Now I'm going up the ridge with a headwind, which is totally doable because the bicycle I am on is electric assisted, so you have to pedal yourself, but it also has an automatic shifting system, a variable shifting gearing system, It is automatic, that means that it adjusts automatically. So you don't feel that we are going uphill, and you basically don't feel that there's a strong headwind. What does that mean? That means that if you're on a, let's say, a flat road, and you're doing about 25 kilometers an hour, you would normally do about, I don't know, 150 watts of power if you don't have any electrical bike. Sorry. So let's say about 150. Now we are probably doing like 400 total because of the headwind and the going over the bridge. But I still pedal about 150. So if you compare this type of electric bike with a normal bike, it's like riding a little bit faster, about 5 kilometers faster than normally. So normally you would go like 16 or 17 kilometers an hour, and I'm usually going 24-ish, 23, 24-ish on average. So you go about 5 kilometers faster, and it always feels like you're on a flat surface without any wind. And I keep reminding people, because that's my scientific person in me, that you still need to bike, and you're still not, you're still kind of putting in the same energy. Let me be careful how I say this. You're putting in the same energy like on a windless day on a flat surface, going about 17, 18 kilometers an hour on your city bike. Which for me is a good place to be. The rest of the wind and ridges and the other things that you might incur are sort of flattened out by the electric assist. Again, that's how I see it. There's one other thing which, especially if the weather is nice, you kind of go faster because there's no wind, etc. It's not raining. You tend up to go about 25 to 27 kilometers an hour, and this bike, and theoretically all bikes, should automatically cut out over 25. So if I have enough energy and it's a nice sunny day, quite a lot of the time the motor assist is basically on zero, and you also hear the motor sort of cutting out until you get a little bit more, let's say, tired, or you just want to not pedal that much yourself anymore. Then you hold it back a little bit, and then below 24, 25 it will start helping again. The problem, of course, if people keep asking questions, I will keep explaining it, and it sounds like I'm trying to defend myself on why I'm using an electric assisted bike. In reality, I don't care. I bike about 2 hours a day, about 50 kilometers a day. So yes, I do it for the moving, but I also know how much I benefit from it, even if it is on partly human power and part electric power. Because like I said, I see this as biking for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours at a 15 kilometers, 16 kilometers speed on a normal bike. It's about equal to that. Again, I'm now trying to sort of hit the bumps which I normally would avoid, and you can see, hopefully can see, that the picture is much more stable, especially where now, for example, the truck is, or the, let's say, the center part of the screen, especially if we're in the inner city or in streets, you will notice that they are not shaking as much as a result of the camera bouncing. The reason for that is that the human body and also the saddle which is also has suspension in it, suspension pin in the cell. And of course the human body, we are quite good in sort of taking these macro bumps or variations out of the picture. So that's why it's looking smoother. Just to prove myself, I'm going off-roading here a little bit. Kind of slippery, but I wanted to see what the camera would do. You can kind of see that it's bumping, but it's not having these micro shakes, if that makes sense. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to the video we made, I think 2 or 3 days ago, which was called Inner City, I think, Utrecht. There you can see, if you're going over the cobblestones, that the middle of the picture is very shaky, and then it also becomes less sharp. One of the things that I dislike about that is that I watch quite a few other people's bicycling videos, and I like to be able to look at the surroundings and don't want to be distracted too much by the picture just being sort of shaky and not really sharp. I'm already wondering what the buildings will look like when this part is done. Will be a few more years. You can see on the Google map, on the 3D view, how much needed to be done when that was made. I didn't check when this was made. Oh, it says in the bottom of the screen, this is quite old. I can't imagine that this being that old. It claims that it's 1985, but the bridge was not there until a few years ago. So my guess is that the picture we're seeing on the top with the major highway going underground here, as you can see. The red thing is the entrance of the tunnel for the A2, which is one of the main roads in the Netherlands. And it goes below ground here. But I'm guessing the 3D pictures were made about 2 years ago. And you can already see that if you go around to the Daphne Schippers Bridge, that the building is continuing all the time. So again, over the Daphne Schippers Bridge, which is a bicycle walking bridge, it's named after a Dutch athlete, a 100-meter runner. As you can see, that's why there's 100-meter here sign. And the other side it stops again. Also telling you that this canal, Amsterdam Rail Canal, is about 100 to 150 meters wide. And this bridge ends on top of a school, which we are entering now, and we'll circle back down. It's fair to call this a famous school. So here you can see that, and I already assumed that, so you can see me braking. The small kid might run into the bicycle path. And of course she got a warning from her mother. But please trust me that if she would have run into the street, nothing would have happened, because I already had an eye on it. But the speed of the camera, it looks like we are going faster than we actually are. At no point during the making of this videos were there any kids in danger. This is a good example. She's probably 150 high. You can see that the camera point is now almost at her head level, which in my opinion gives a much more natural view. And if we are going close to the cars, which we are now slowly getting into normal neighborhoods again, I think it gives a much more natural view, because our camera view is now clearly above. At least it should be a little bit higher still, because of course my eyes are still a little bit higher, but at least is now above the door level, which I think makes makes it more realistic, if that makes sense. Of course, I'm mumbling because not too much to say about this part of the city anymore. We've been there so many times. Sometimes you see these yellow bakfietsen, so cargo bikes. These are rental ones, so you can rent them if you wanna take your kids in the bakfiets, or even girlfriends or wives, husbands, I guess. Or you want to move something, you can hire them. There's two of them in my neighborhood, so let's say at 50 and 100 meters range, or very close by, but they are all over the city. I decided here to go straight because I saw the cobblestones, and this is a good example where there are good cobblestones. You can maybe see it with this scooter, but you didn't. But normally with the other setup this will be quite shaky, but the body itself is sort of doing enough dampening that the video is much more smooth. And that's also why we are now going into my old neighborhood where I was born, which is called Lombok. And they are redoing one of the main streets. They've already been working on it for about half a year, I think now, which is called Kanaalstraat. And let's say it was before, it was even wider than. It's kind of like this in a very old period. I've shown some pictures before in another video. But they are now turning it to cobblestones and making it one way, and also much more narrow. And you'll notice that it starts automatically feeling like a smaller road, even compared to here, which is already an interesting road type for foreigners. So you see clearly two bicycle paths, and then sort of a cobblestone for the cars. And if they want to be on a bicycle path, they already have to be quite careful. I'm not sure why she was going so slow and sort of braking and then going again and braking again. Then she goes up to on the walking area over here. So this crossing all the traffic lights, which have been there for as long as I can remember, so at least 40 years, have been taken away, so there are no traffic lights anymore. So this is now the street, which used to be quite wide, but it now kind of feels like a street where cars should not drive fast. So again, this is the traffic calming done by speed bumps, making the street narrower, making the sidewalks really wide, so it feels that this is a street where you should not drive fast with your car. And here we will get a weird moment where somebody doesn't look out in her car and sort of stops and then goes just before me. And the passenger is actually waving sorry, because look, here we go. So I'm braking and then she goes. And she's like, oh, sorry, and then again, sorry. But again, I kind of already had a gut feeling she would do that. So they're not finished with the last part, so I have to go on here and fill around. And again, I'm almost on purpose doing the speed bumps. Bumping down. You can see even going from the sidewalks down, which is about 5 centimeters. You hardly saw it on the camera view. So I was born in, well, not born, but raised in one of these streets. Not this one, but the previous one. I could not enter. And then we are back on the road where we have been before. And we actually hear the sirens of a fire engine. There's something going on. We will check for it later, but I'm not sure what was happening. It had to be in the street over there. It's the Potgieterstraat. And actually, we are looking at where normally my barber is. Also a coffee shop here. A coffee place, not a coffee shop. Like Wax. And we are getting up to the last home that my parents lived in. So they moved from the home we just passed by to this one when I'm going around the corner. So the one above the shop here was where they lived last before they passed away. It was quite a new building because it got a little bit older and they didn't want to have floors anymore, an elevator. So the fire truck was actually in this street over here, but there was no fire, so something else was going on. But this is quite bumpy, this surface. So this is a very good test to see if this is a more stable way of using the camera. And what we are trying to do, that's why I went here, because I knew that there was this bad surface over here, but also we are getting back to the new bicycle path, although it's not new, but new resurfaced and assigned, let's say it like that, bicycle path between the two city centers. So the old city center and Leidse Rijn, which is the new city center. And we have our second moment where we almost hit somebody. This was a little bit closer. As you can see, we are going to the right here, and then somebody's already on the path but wants to go into this road, and we did see each other, but he was a little bit off track. Here we go. Beep. Again, eye contact, no big deal, but it was fun. So you can see what I mean. This road has always been here since I was a kid, but it is now more assigned for if you want to go in the morning quickly from one part of the other part of the city. So they made it totally red, as you by now know is for bicycles, and they put in some speed bumps because otherwise cars will still go too fast. I don't really like this one. I normally use the other one because I don't like the speed bumps even on the bicycle. But in this case, to test if this camera setup works, it works. You can see on the helicopter view that we are next to the train station, the train tracks again, and on the top part you can actually see some of the train's storage area and other tracks that I think the big building is where they clean them, but I'm not sure. Should look that up. Because if I just yell somebody, or somebody else might put in the comments that I'm making up stuff again. I will look it up what the different areas are. As you can see, quite a few people out and about on a bicycle. Considering it is January and quite cold and Friday, it's okay. Probably tomorrow it will be way more busy. And also here we have quite a lot of headwind. You don't probably hear it, but just watch the different bicycle people on bicycles. You see that he's already waving left to right, this kid. Not overly happy with the wind. And later on, if you go up the bridge, you can see people not moving too fast. You can also notice, I think, with her that there's quite a lot of wind in her hair. So I guess you can sort of get a feeling that indeed it's windy. And if you remember correctly, about 40 kilometers an hour is about going up a hill of 6%. So Again, that's why we call them the Dutch mountains. So if you like the bicycle in the Netherlands or somewhere else, don't listen to other people. Get an e-bike, an assisted bicycle, not a fully one, which is more like a replacement electric motorcycle, but more assist. It helps you along a little bit. It just smoothens out the ride. Let people make fun of you. That's all fine and dandy. Keep in mind, the Netherlands is quite a bicycle country, and there are now, as you probably know, now most new bicycles sold are electric bikes. There's more electric bikes being sold than normal bikes. And the fact that it's windy, you can also see in the DE, so Douwe Egberts, the coffee factory. You can see the smoke coming out of the chimney, how quickly it sort of goes to one side and how quickly it moves. So it is very windy. And we are already kind of nearing the end of the video again. A few more minutes. But you can see that these two, for example, she has an e-bike, you can see that. But these two are already pushing quite along. And I think the next three are even having more struggles. See, I'm braking quite a lot to stay behind them because somebody's coming from the other side, but we're almost standing still. And this guy is really not happy with the wind. And trust me, if you talk to Dutch people, did they have to go to school by bike? Most likely yes. Did they also have to go to school on a bike when it was rainy and windy? Yes. Did they like it? No. So I'm also pretty convinced that e-bikes will take over for the younger generation, because I keep repeating myself, it takes the rough edges out of the bicycle. And here we get the last moment of bad interaction. In a few moments, about a minute. I could have been more careful, but I'm behind somebody, and I'm pretty sure she didn't want to go to the corner, around the corner. She of course didn't use her hand signals, which she should. And in the last moment, I think she decided to go to the left. Just watch, because I think it's her. And I was already braking, I was already unsure. You can see the signage that, and she kind of don't give her signal, and here she goes. And last moment, whoop! Yeah, but I did catch it, and she also corrected, of course. But do you tell me, was I too aggressive trying to pass? Of course she should have sticked out her hand, and she... I kind of tried to pass her when she was already 50% over the going to the left signal, so I think she was just watching her phone, and at the last moment she decided, oh no, I need to go to the left. Oh, we get one other friendly user interaction, which I guess is more normal. At the end of the video, we are crossing, and the girl supposed to stop, but I give her a head signal that she can go first, and she waves and smiles, and you can see kind of the distance, how far these signals are already being given. I'm not saying it's magic, but it's something like in the Netherlands you should sort of become second nature. That and I kind of like to be friendly on the bike, because it's better than being negative, and it also gives other people a good feeling. Small moments of joy. I'm not that much in a hurry, but I will tell you when it happens. Maybe you would have picked up on it, but notice how early she acknowledged that she saw my head signal. So I kind of gave her a head nod, so okay, you can go. I don't even think I used my hand. I probably just used my head. So this is the school we were talking about. If you see in the beginning, there's lots of bakfietsen. There's one here, and there's also one still waiting. But there were like 20 or something before people on bicycles and a few bakfietsen when we started this trip. So go back to the beginning and you can see it. Because this is a primary school. And we are into the last, let's say 30 seconds of the video. So I will say thanks for watching, and please provide feedback on the video what you think about this new setup. Again, I will not make all the normal things in this video, but I will say bye already now, because the last thing that will happen, I was waving because the kids on the bicycle was also waving. But here you see that from the right side a girl comes in and I give her a head signal. I think I already saw her now. And I brake a little bit and I now give her a head signal. You can see she's waving at me and then smiling and continuing.